By the way, I'm live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Real Crazy News Raiders. We're live right now. Um, Thank you all for tuning in. This means a lot, and we're gonna really try to start this and get this going to the next level. I'm just gonna post this real quick. Make sure everyone tunes in. Um, um, So coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking about Raiders free agency recap. We're going to talk about what is going on with the Raiders and what they're going to do in the draft. And I'm really just going to try to inform you all a little bit more about the Raiders and what I expect them to do this offseason, what they already have done this offseason. So just posted this, and let's get right into it. Shh. I can't see your screen, by the way. Sorry, Wi-Fi went out real quick. So hello everyone. We're going to be talking about a little bit of a free agency recap. We're also going to be talking about the NFL draft and what I predict the Raiders are going to be doing in the NFL draft. We're also going to be doing a trade with the New York Jets, which they're projected to do. And we might even get a Jets fan to come on and talk about how he feels about this trade. So, first off, I just want to say thank you all so much for tuning in and watching. We had over 140 people tune into our last live show, and this really helps us out a lot. And this really, makes me encourage and makes me wanting to do this more because views and subscribers. We gained a lot of those likes, and because of that, I'm gonna make a deal with you all. If we get to 1,025 subscribers by the end of March, as of today, it's March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. I will wear a full Raiders uniform with the helmet on, and if you think that's dumb, you can make me wear some stupider. I don't really care. Just I'll wear a Raiders helmet. I'll wear a Raiders uniform. All we need to do get to 1,025 subs. So make sure to tell everyone about it. Get everyone knowing to subscribe, and that's really important. So first thing we're going to talk about. Let's jump in right into this. We're going to talk about the Raiders free agency signing. So the Raiders signed 6 players, not including re-signing, and they also extended a couple players. Right now, we're only going to talk about the players that they re-signed. So the first guy we're going to talk about is Jeremy Chinn, safety, formerly from the Washington Commanders. So Chinn is a safety. He's a hard-hitting safety. And with Trayvon Marley gone, he's going to be a replacement for Marg, and he's really going to help this team out. I think this is a great move by the Raiders because they signed to a pretty cheap deal. It was a 2-year, $16 million contract. It can be turned into more than $16 million, I'm pretty sure. And this was a really cheap deal, and this is a great deal for a guy that can turn into a great player. Chinn, he's a hard-hitting safety, and he's 27 years old. Pete Carroll can really turn him into a great player. Can you tell me some of the stats? So Chinn, he's a great player. He's going to help turn this. He's going to help make an impact in year one, but he's also going to be a guy that can turn into a safety down the road and a really elite player and try to bring that at this Legion of Boom Part 2. So he had 2 sacks, 73 solo tackles, 34 assists, and that's really all you need to know. So, like I said, we signed to a 2-year, $16 million contract. He's a hard-hitting safety. But this is the thing that's going to help you out. So the Raiders lost Robert Slayton and Divine Diablo in free agency, and this is a major blow. They were top 2 linebackers last year, and right now they don't have a very strong linebacker corps. Jeremy Chinn, he can play all over the field. He can play downfield, and he can also play up, higher up. So Chinn, he's a really good player, and I really think that to play up and help out the linebacker position is going to help this Raiders defense out a lot. So next guy we're going to talk about is offensive lineman Alex Kappa. Alex Cappa was signed to a 2-year, $11 million deal, and if I'm going to be honest, I don't like this move. Not a lot of Raider fans like this move either. Cappa won the Triple Crown for being the worst offensive lineman in the league, and he got cut by the Bengals last year. Here's the thing. I trust this Raiders team. I trust John Spytek and Pete Carroll. I trust Tom Brady. There's a reason why they brought him in. And the Raiders wouldn't just do this if there wasn't a reason. You know why they brought him in? Because of connections. This is the reason why every player is getting signed. They all have a connection with someone in this Raiders organization. For example, just now, John Spytek and Alex Cappa have a relationship. They were both in Tampa Bay, and John Spytek and Alex Cappa were on that team. Spytek as the assistant GM. Cappa was the starting guard for Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, and Tom Brady is also a member of the Las Vegas Raiders. Cappa was a solid lineman, and maybe, John Spytek thinks that Pete Carroll and our offensive line coach can help bring this player to what he once was into a really good player. So, next I want to talk about is Elandon Roberts. Elandon Roberts is linebacker for the Steelers, and he actually viewed my Instagram story, so if you're watching this, thank you. But Elandon Roberts, he's a really good player, and he's another hard-hitting player. You can tell that the Raiders want to bring back this lead part 2, and this is really going to help him. Elandon Roberts is a really good player who can stuff the run, and he's a hard hitter, sure. Elandon Roberts, he's going to stuff the run. He's going to help out this linebacker corps. So he had 1 sack, 24 solo tackles, and 22 assists. He didn't get that much playing time for the Steelers, but look at Robert Spillane. Look at Robert Spillane turned into. Spillane wasn't, that much of a known player, and everyone's like, who's this guy that the Raiders are signing? Look at him now. Signed with one of the best linebackers in the league. And Elandon Roberts, he's older, he's 30 years old, but he's going to help this Raiders team win right now. And you can tell that Pete Carroll wants to win now because he's not worried about bringing in a 22, 23-year-old guy. He wants to win now, and he wants to bring the best player available into his team. So he was signed to a 1-year, $3 million deal, and this was a great move by the Raiders. They got a solid player, a solid linebacker, who's a hard hitter, and he fits into Pete Carroll and Patrick Graham's defense. So next up, we're going to be talking about corner Eric Stokes from the Packers. So the Raiders signed him to a 1-year, $4 million deal, and he was a former first-round pick 29 in the draft, and he really didn't live up to his potential. He hasn't been the player he's supposed to be, but I think that Pete Carroll sees something in him, and he sees that he was, not a great player at first, but he thinks that he can bring him to his final potential and help Eric Stokes reach the potential that he really should have been. Look at a guy like Kayvon Chasen, who the Raiders brought in. He wasn't a great player at first, but after, Rob Leonard brought him in and Patrick Graham, they really turned into a good player, and maybe Eric Stokes turned to a guy like him. There aren't that many stats. He had 29 solo tackles. He was, a solid player, and he's going to be, a nice replacement for Nate Hobbs, who went to the Packers in free agency. And Eric Stokes, I honestly can see him turning into a cornerback 1, and I think this is by the Raiders. You can tell that they want to go to the cheaper side of the ball, not spend as much money, but they're also getting really good value and not just blowing a bunch of money away. So next guy we're going to talk about is the only offensive players the Raiders signed, which is running back Raheem Mostert. Mostert was signed to a 1-year, $2.1 million deal, and he did not have a great year last year. He was the backup behind Devon Achane, but he was hurt some of the year, and he's also an older player. He was 32 years old last season, and the year before, 2023, he had a phenomenal year. He was one of the best running backs in the league. He was tied for first in the league in touchdowns with 21 total touchdowns, and he had 18 rushing. So Raheem Mostert, I think that this is a good move by the Raiders. Cheap deal, 1 year, $2.1 million, but he's 33 years old, and he's not going to be the future of this team. Last year he had 278 yards, and I'm pretty sure 2 touchdowns. He had 3.3 yards per carry, which isn't that good, but overall, he's going to help bring this team, bring this running back corps a little more depth, and he's going to be a guy where if he finds a running lane, he can take it to the next level and run it in right for a touchdown. He's really fast. He's got that elite level of speed, and he's going to be a fast player who can help develop a guy maybe like Ashton Genty. And if he can turn back into his 2023 self, the Raiders will have a really good rushing attack. Last guy we're going to talk about is Lonnie Johnson Jr. So Johnson is most likely going to be a depth guy. The Raiders have a lot of safeties, and if you could pull that up for me, please. So Lonnie Johnson Jr. He was cornerback for the Texans last season. I'm pretty sure he was another guy who I think that Pete Carroll sees some potential in and thinks that he can bring him in, turn into a great player. Right now, the Raiders safety corps is not that great, if I'm going to be honest. They signed Isaiah Polamalu and Jeremy Chin. Those are their top two guys. He had 6 total tackles last year, but like I said, he's going to be more of a depth guy. Maybe he turns into a good player, and maybe a starter. But I see the Raiders drafting a guy, and I see the Raiders, if they do draft a guy, cutting 1 or 2 players. 2 players, they already have a lot of safeties, and they already have a decent amount of players in the secondary. But if the Raiders draft a safety like Andrew Mukbuka, Texas safety, I could see them getting him in the 3rd round. I see the Raiders cutting a couple players, and that's really gonna open up some more space in the roster. So that's gonna be it for our first part of the video, which is free agency signings. So can we see if we have any questions in the chat? Anything that's being said? The next part, that's it. So if you guys can get some questions real quick, that'd be really great. I'm gonna see something really quick. So like I said, next part's gonna be the draft, and then after that, we're gonna be talking about the Raiders, a potential trade that they can be doing with the New York Jets, which is proposed, not in real life, but it's a trade that I saw that I thought you guys would want to see. Not yet. Don't pull it up yet. But this is, how many people do we have live right now? We have only 3 people watching, but we're getting better. We got some more people tuning in. We got some new people. We got over 134 views on our last video, and this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to make this turn into Raider Nation tuning in, make it better. But we're really just gonna try to make this YouTube channel a lot better. Now we have 6 people watching. So, yes. So, we're just going to jump right into the next part of our segment, which is going to be Raiders' upcoming draft targets for the NFL draft. So, let's get right into this. You ready? Nothing right now, just maybe stats. All right, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Real Crazy News Raiders. So, coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking about the NFL draft projections of who the Raiders can take at all. So, before I start, I just want to say thank you all again for tuning in to another video. Really helps me out a lot. And I made a deal with you guys. I said if we get to 1,025 subscribers by the end of March, I will wear a full Raiders uniform with a helmet, and if you want me to do something even stupider, I'll do it. I just really want to get to 1,025 subscribers. So like I said, we're going to be talking about NFL draft, who the Raiders can take at number 6, and let's get right into it. First guy that the Raiders can take at number 6 is Arizona's wide receiver, Tetairoa McMillan, also known as T-Mac. T-Mac's 6'5", and he can catch almost anything that is thrown up to him. McMillan's an elite player, and in my receiver in this draft class, and the Raiders should really look into him really look into taking him at number 6 overall. McMillan had 1,300 yards, 16 yards per catch, and I'm pretty sure 18 touchdowns. 8 touchdowns. Sorry, 8 touchdowns. Um, McMillan, like I said, he's going to be a guy who can be your true X receiver. He's going to help, Geno Smith, Brock Bowers open up the field to other players, and he's going to open up this running game because, throwing the ball deep is going to help open up the run game because they're going to know a guy like Geno Smith who can throw the ball deep and a guy like Tetairoa McMillan who can, catch deep balls. That's going to help open up the run game, and they're going to have to cover more deep part of the field. McMillan's a really good player, and I would love the Raiders taking him at number 6. But now we're getting to the next guy who the Raiders could take, and that's running back Ashton Jeanty. Jeanty's coming off one of the best college football seasons ever by a running back. He had over 2,500 yards, and he had 2,600 yards, and he can take a lot of pressure off of Geno Smith. Geno Smith, he's not got that many weapons, He needs a good offensive line and a good running attack. And Ashton Jeanty and Geno Smith and Brock Bowers, that's a really good offense. Ashton Jeanty is the best running back in this class, and he's one of the best running backs to ever come out of college. But I can really see Ashton Jeanty being one of the best running backs in this league, and I don't think there's any chance he can be a bust in this league. I think that his stats back it up. He had over 9 yards per carry, and I know a lot of people are saying that he wasn't in a great school. He wasn't playing that great of competition. In my opinion, it doesn't matter at all. If you have 2,600 yards, I don't care if you're playing. I don't care who you're playing. To have 2,600 yards against other Division I schools, that's phenomenal. You watch his highlights. You watch his tape. You could see that how good he was, how elusive he is, but also how strong he is, how he can bounce off of tackles. And how many guys can do that? So I would be thrilled if the Raiders took Jeanty at 6. And I think T-Mac and Jeanty are two guys in the draft that are the most reliable. And I don't think that there's a high chance that they could be busts. I see Jeanty, as one of the great players, and an NFL comp to McMillan is a guy like Julio Jones. He's a little bit less athletic, though. But, he's like Julio Jones who could just, catch deep balls and jump over someone and catch it. Both very aggressive guys who really was one of the best players of all time at the receiver position. So now we're going to look at the guy that was projected to go to the Raiders. All season, which was Shedeur Sanders. Sanders is coming off a really good year with Colorado, and for a while was projected to be the number 1 pick. Everyone expected the Raiders to take Shedeur if they had the number 1 overall pick. Now, Shedeur might not even go in the top 6. The Raiders might not even take him at number 6 if he's there. Sanders, hold on just 1 second, everyone. I just need... Sorry about that. Sanders had a really good year with Colorado, and like I said, everyone expected him to, be one of the top picks in the draft. Some people even see a guy like Jackson Dart being better than Shedeur. I wouldn't go that far. I'm really high on Jackson Dart, and I think he's the best quarterbacks in this class. And I think that he is. I was on the Jackson Dart train since he was supposed to be a 4th and 3rd round pick, but I still think Shedeur is a little bit better. I think that Shedeur has a higher. He's a safer pick, and Shedeur Sanders. The reason why he's been linked to the Raiders so much is because of the connections. Tom Brady, he's been training with Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders respects a guy like Tom Brady, and since Tom Brady is the minority owner of the Raiders, he's going to be he's going to be in the draft room. He's going to be talking to John Spytek, to Pete Carroll about who they should draft. But I think that Shedeur Sanders, the Raiders also might not look to him because they said that they wanted to make Geno Smith the quarterback of the future. This isn't that likely. I know they said that, but Geno Smith is 34 years old, and you can't really expect a 34-year-old to be your franchise quarterback. But if you want to draft a guy like Shedeur, let him sit 2 years behind a guy like Geno Smith, I'd be really fond of that idea, and I'd really like that. Geno Smith and Shedeur Sanders, their play styles are the exact same, and I think that he'd be a great mentor to a guy like Shedeur, and I'd be happy if the Raiders took him at number 6. So those were the top 3 guys that I would, that I project the Raiders drafting. But you could also look at trading up. The top guy, and in my opinion, the only guy the Raiders would trade up for is Cam Ward. Cam Ward, I take it back. I'm living in the past. Cam Ward, I don't really think that the Raiders would trade up for him because they got Geno Smith. Cam Ward is the only quarterback in this draft who can start year 1, and since they got Geno Smith, I don't expect them trading up and giving up a lot of draft capital to get a guy like Cam Ward. Cam Ward, he is the best quarterback in this class, and I think that he'd be great on the Raiders. But because they already traded for Geno Smith, it doesn't really make much sense to take a guy like Cam Ward. But if you also want to look to trade up for another guy, I don't see them going to the. Maybe they trade up for Abdul Carter, but I really don't see that happening. Maybe if a guy like Travis Hunter slides to pick 5 or pick 4, then they would trade for him. Same with a guy like Abdul Carter. But I really don't see the Raiders trading up for anyone. If something, you could maybe trade up to number 6 with number 5 with Jacksonville, and take a guy like Will Campbell. I know, he's the best offensive lineman in this class probably, and the Raiders are always looking to add an offensive lineman. But overall, for me, these guys, Shedeur Sanders and McMillan and Jeanty, are the top guys and most likely to be drafted by the Raiders. And I'd be happy if they got drafted by the Raiders. Shedeur, McMillan, or Jeanty, if any of them got drafted, I'd be really happy. I think that they're all really good picks, and I think that they could turn to great players. But a guy like Sanders, he's a little bit more risky since who knows, maybe he doesn't want to sit 2 years. Maybe Geno Smith turns into a great quarterback, and then they're kind of stuck with Sanders. Like, what are they going to do with him? But I think that they'd all be really good picks. Like I said, I think Jeanty and McMillan are the most reliable, and they will not be busts in this draft. But I really don't see the Raiders taking defensive player at number 6 overall. After all, they are the Raiders, and who knows what they're going to do. Taking a guy like Clelin Ferrell, Tyree Wilson, who I never really expected them to take at 6. I always expected them to take an offensive guy. But, like I said, they're the Raiders. They sometimes do some crazy stuff on draft night. Who knows what they're going to do? Maybe they take a defensive guy. I really don't know who they would take at 6. Maybe Mason Graham if he falls. But I really don't see Mason Graham falling to the 6th overall pick. So, that's going to be it for our segment of the NFL draft. And now we're going to go into a proposed trade with the New York Jets. So let's just give me 1 second. So this is the trade with the New York Jets. It's the Raiders are giving up a lot of draft picks. They're going to be giving up a 2025 second, a 2025 third, Michael Mayer, and a 2026 first round pick. Just in return for the 7th overall pick. Just to let you all know, 2025 is this year's draft, 2026 is next year's draft. I know. If you guys could leave your thoughts about this in the comments, this would be very good and this would help me out. In my opinion, the Raiders are overpaying for this, and it doesn't really make any sense for them to do it. And also, if they did this trade, they would take Ashton Jeanty. That was also listed. Ashton Jeanty, are you going to give up that many picks to trade up? You're giving up a player like Michael Mayer who can turn into a great player, and I really think that he would be really good. So leave what your thoughts are in the description, in the comments, and tell me what you think. So there was a poll that they did on on Instagram, and the results were mostly negative and mostly no. So, Jets fan, call in real quick, and we're gonna have his thoughts on how they feel about this trade proposal. So we're about to do that. Um, Hello?
Yes, Ridley.
So we are live right now with a couple viewers, and this trade was proposed by the Jets, and I know you're a Jets fan. So so basically, this trade, it's gonna be the trade is the Jets receive a Raiders second round pick this year. The Jets receive a third round pick this year. The Jets receive Michael Mayer, and they're also getting a first next year. The Jets have to give up the seventh overall pick. How do you feel about this?
Richie, I don't feel good about it. You know why?
Why?
Mayer is below average, and those picks, the seventh pick in the draft, if we can get like a key player to our maybe offense, like maybe a defensive back, we can't just give away a seventh pick for some little draft picks,
I know, but you're also getting a first round pick next year. Does this mean the Jets are trying to win right now and they're not really worried that much about their future?
I feel like the Jets, because they're throwing away their seventh pick. I feel like they're trying to maybe get, like, since they want to pick for next year. I feel like they want to plan ahead for the future.
Yeah. So overall, you would say no to this trade, and you think the Raiders aren't giving up enough to trade for the number 7 overall pick?
No, I don't think they're giving up enough. I think they need at least one more, maybe like a second round pick.
The Raiders would have to give a whole nother second round pick. All right.
Yeah, sure do.
So thank you for giving your input. And I'll talk to you later.
All right, thank you, Richie. Thank you for having me.
See ya. So, like you all just heard, the Jets don't think that the Raiders are giving enough. They even said that they would have to give a whole another second round pick. In my opinion, this is kind of crazy because I expected him to say the Raiders are giving up enough and the Raiders are almost even overpaying because that's what I was really expecting to happen. I even thought that the Raiders were giving up too much, and a lot of other people on social media and other things thought that the Raiders were giving up way. There's no chance that I would give up another second round pick. I don't even think if I would give. I wouldn't give another pick at all. If I had to give a seventh, maybe, but anything else is just way too much for me. Now we're gonna be doing. So if you have any questions, just leave a comment real quick. But that's my thoughts for the trade. We had a Jets fan call in. They said that the trade is not. The Raiders are not giving enough up, and the Jets are really want to hold on to this pick, and they're looking to take like maybe a cornerback at pick 7, and the Raiders would have to give up a decent amount more to trade up to trade for the 7th overall pick. So in the comments, I see Jets suck. I'm with you. This comment from, I'm assuming, a Seattle Seahawks fan. Do you think Seattle is better than the Raiders? No. Seattle's not better than the Raiders. Seattle, yes, I do like the signing by Sam Darnold. Darnold is a good quarterback, and some people think last year was just a fluke and it was just a one-time wonder. I don't agree with this. I think the Seahawks did their GM did a really good move by getting rid of Geno. They're not paying him, and they also got a third-round pick for him. In addition to that, they got a little bit worse at the quarterback, but they did get much Darnold, who's almost 7 years younger than Geno Smith, and they also are, getting a younger player who can help develop and, plan more for the future. I don't like that Seattle got rid of DK Metcalf. I mean, they got a nice amount of value for him, but their receiving corps and their tight end isn't that good. They have a nice defense, but their D line isn't that good. Their linebackers aren't that good. I'm rolling with the Raiders. I'm saying the Raiders are better. They have a better quarterback, better defense, better coach. But I think that it's more of a subjective matter. It's kind of close. Not they're both not that good. So now we're gonna be doing an ad break for Tivoli Custom Framing. So I'm gonna go get a couple stuff real quick. All right, everyone. So here's some stuff that I'm gonna show you real quick. So first thing I'm gonna show you is this. This is a New York Yankees letter collage. You have New York on the top, and you have Yankees on the bottom with players' pictures in there. You could do better. You could do different players, like older players, and this doesn't just have to be the Yankees. It could be a high school. It could be a college. It could be middle school. It could be honestly anything that you want. As long as it has the name and then it has, it'd be perfect. This sells for $100 and it's right now on TivoliCustomFraming.com. You can make them custom, or they can do something like this. So, oh shoot. I'm gonna show you another thing. You can show something like this. This is a Luke Hughes frame with a signed puck. This is also his rookie cards in here with a grade 10. And you got the signed puck, you got the picture there. It's a nice shadow box frame. This is, this price is kind of like, it's subjective, and not subjective, it changes, and they're not always going to have these in stock because, the signatures and the card, but stuff they have in stock, guys, things like the New York Yankees frame that I just showed you, they can do almost anything that you want. They're located in Maywood, New Jersey, and if you have an idea, they can do it. You could see some of the stuff that they have on frame on this show, and that's really gonna be it for our ad break. So we're not gonna get any more questions in. I think we're just gonna end the show, but let's get some more questions in. And I'm just want to remind you all that if we get to 1,025 subscribers by the end of March, I will be wearing a full Raiders uniform, helmet, not really pads, but a jersey. I'll be wearing a full Raiders uniform, and I'll do an entire show by that. All we need to do is get to 1,025 subscribers by the end of March. Right now it's March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you. And thank you all so much for tuning in and getting, a lot of more people on the show, a lot more people I'm seeing. But let's try to get some more questions in the chat. Let's try, just so we can keep the show going, since if we don't have any more questions, we're going to be ending the show right now. And that's really going to be it. Aren't you at 1.1K already? Oh, yeah, excuse me. I meant 1,125 subscribers. We're at 1,106 subscribers right now. Let's try to get to 1,025. We can do it. We gained almost 50 subscribers one day, I remember. So all we're asking for is to gain around 20 in 13 days. In 2 weeks, can we gain 20 subscribers? So make sure to tell your friends about it. Tell everyone you know. Subscribe to this. But, so if we get another question in, I see Andy and the 12s. They're showing that. Can you take those off, please? Take those highlights off. Yeah. Just take those off. So, this is the question. Am I happy that we got rid of Derek Carr? No, I'm not happy that we got rid of Derek Carr. I understand why they did, and I think that it could have been a good move, but they handled it terribly. They got rid of Derek Carr without a plan. Josh McDaniels did not have a plan at all. he released Derek Carr without knowing what to do. Carr was the best quarterback the Raiders had in a long time, and statistically, is the best Raiders quarterback ever. Carr was, I know he had a bad year, but to cut him and have no replacement, which was Jimmy Garoppolo, who didn't have a good year at all, and the Raiders eventually cut him too, was just terrible. Even last year, they didn't have a plan. Their plan was to trade up for Jane Daniels. That didn't work. Look at their season last year. Same situation. Had a bridge quarterback. Didn't work out. So they had to put Aiden O'Connell in. And by that time, the season was over. You can tell this year the Raiders have a plan. John Spytek, Pete Carroll, they're smart. They have a plan in mind, and you can tell they're trying to win now. They're trying to build around Geno Smith and build around the defense and offense. Take these highlights down. And thank you all so much for tuning in. I think that's going to be it for today's show. But overall, like I said, Derek Carr, he wasn't the answer. And that's not really it. That's really it. So last time I'm going to say it, if I can get one more question in, it could be about literally anything. So just like 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Question. You have a question. Pete Carroll or Mike Macdonald? So for those who don't know, Mike Macdonald is the coach for the Seattle Seahawks, and Mike Macdonald was the defensive coordinator for the Seahawks, I'm pretty sure, and Pete Carroll was also the head coach of the Seahawks. Pete Carroll's a better coach than Mike Macdonald. I know I'm a Raiders fan, but I even think a Seahawks fan would say it. He has consistency. He was basically never bad in his coaching career for the Seahawks, and Super Bowl. He's one of the best coaches of all time, and he's one of the best coaches in the league right now. Mike Macdonald's still a younger coach, and I think that Pete Carroll still has the upper hand in him, and he's just seen football for more years than Mike Macdonald. So, everyone, that's going to be it for today's show. We got Pete right here, but that's going to be it for today's show. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure to hit that sub and like button. We had over 140 people watching last live video. Thank you all so much for that. Make sure to check out Tivoli Custom Framing, like and sub, and I'll see you next time.